You know I can't recall the day your dream became my life. I've lived an eternity with you by my side. You by my side. Like the sun and the moon I've seen, that your light reflects mine. And riding together we have conquered the skies. But for so long I failed to see the truth as I searched for a fantasy that lived within.
Hello, I'm Shane Schultz from Serenely Speaking, and this is the Arisen Strength Recap Show. Folks, we do this show every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time because we feel there are far too many dreams, talents, and capabilities that are being suppressed for whatever reason. Whether it be injury, illness, or life experiences, these situations have a way of finding us being robbed of what it is that makes us special and unique in this world, our passions. Here at Arisen Strength, we encourage people to pursue their passions in spite of the challenges that they face. And how we do that is through a three-pillar concept. Number one, we support. Number two, we encourage. And after all that work, number three, we celebrate. Folks, that's the Arisen Strength concept. Our goal is to help bring back the passions of life to people again. Tonight, we're going to recap our Arisen Strength podcast show on Sunday, where, Wayne, we talked about when life gets hard.
Yeah, that was a good topic. It's an important one. We try to talk about what are some flags in our own life, because sometimes we're the worst judge of what's going on in our own life. We don't know when our lives are tough. And then the flip side is we don't necessarily know how to react when somebody else's life is hard. How do we help them? So trying to navigate from both sides of the equation there was kind of what we talked about a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. We didn't really discuss that part, but I'm glad that you brought that up because I do want to discuss that later tonight. Before we get to that, Wayne is the director of all Arisen Strength productions, whether it be this show or the Sunday show, as well as many other different things that we do. And I'm very grateful for him, and I want to say thank you for all that you do.
Well, thank you, Shane, for letting me be part of it.
He also has been working very hard on the new credits that we have in the beginning of the show and at the end of the show. In fact, if you get a chance, definitely give us a like or give us a message or a mention, in regards to what you think about the credits, because we always are looking for feedback. How's that go again?
Performance feedback revision.
Performance feedback and revision.
We do the performance here. We depend on a little bit of feedback from the viewers, the listeners, and then we try to incorporate the suggestions because, excuse me, sometimes we can get a little blinded by some tasks, and then we overlook something that I forgot to think about that.
Yeah.
And when you're in the middle of doing something, I do this. I know this in my life is I'll get focused on a task and I'll overlook something that's so obvious to everybody else. And even if I watch it over and over and over and over again, I just don't see it until somebody mentions it. And then I'm like, oh, of course. And I think we all need a little bit of feedback in our lives like that. And, we don't take it as harsh criticism. Try to be polite when you point it out to us, recognize that, hey, we're humans, we make mistakes. But even still, we're going to try not to take it harshly. We want to incorporate it. We want to improve, because learn, improve, share. And the way we learn, improve, share is with performance feedback revision.
Absolutely. And the reality of the situation is that this show is for that very reason. We go through a whole lot of different subjects and a whole lot of different material and content on Sunday shows. Sometimes we just can't get it all in there. So the reason why we brought up with the recap show is to be able to not only go over some of the more memorable moments in Sunday show, but also to be able to go over some new material that either we had planned on putting into Sunday show or something brand new that we just came up with throughout the last few days.
Or we find a different way of saying the same thing again.
Right.
A more effective way, maybe. Sometimes
Sure.
We might be a little bit clumsy. We might be unintentionally rude, perhaps. It seems like we don't care.
I'm not rude.
But it gives us a chance to sort of restate our case a little bit. It also gives us a chance to think about what we said and maybe change our opinion. We can learn a lot in 3 days, and we don't mind come back 4 days. We do this on Sunday, come back on Thursday, find out how much we've learned.
I'm direct. I'm not rude. Anyways, yeah. I mean that is the whole point of this show on Thursday night, is to be able to get even more content out there than what we had planned on Sunday. Also, getting feedback from people since Sunday, so that we can add it to the show as well. I've always said that no matter what show that we do, we can't possibly do it justice within one show, and that's what's going to keep us around for quite a while, because we're going to be able to give more different views and different content on the same types of subjects, in order to be able to help out, because everybody learns from a different way, whether it be visual, whether it be tutorial or instructional, whatever. Everybody learns things differently in a different way, and it's no different with this show. We plan on throwing a whole lot of different views in order to be able to help out. So that's the reason for the recap show in the first place. So as far as this show goes, we've got Wayne and you got me. That's it. So we've got quite a few of the cast members who are doing a number of different things during the summer. We have kept in touch with them. We know where they are, and we'll fill you in as we learn different things and learn further information. One thing that we did learn is that our good buddy Charles is now home. That is amazing. Let me tell you something. I personally work for an institution, medical institution, for medical research concerning renal failure and also renal disease, end-stage renal disease. I know what it is that Charles was going through. I know what Charles goes through. I know what a lot of people go through that are in Charles's boat. When Charles went in for his transplant, I knew that, number one, it was a blessing. I knew that because he has a very atypical blood type. And so for him to even be on the list and be able to receive a kidney was pretty miraculous. Then when he went through it and we had first heard that everything went just fine, that was amazing. And I said, oh, well, God's in his corner, and Charles is a God-loving man. So when I heard that there were complications, I wasn't at all surprised, because Charles wasn't in the best of shape when he went in for the surgery. And so I wasn't at all surprised. I was a little bit taken back as to how his complications got worse. And so it got to the point as to where we started asking for prayers. We started asking for anything that would help. And guess what? Our fans, our audience, and our listeners, you all came through, because whatever it is that you did, you got Charles not only feeling better, but he actually has the best result that could possibly be imagined from this transplant. So, that's pretty amazing. I haven't talked to him yet personally. I've seen him a couple times online. I've sent him a couple messages, and I know that he's quite busy. But I do know that he is getting better. I mentioned on Sunday, I've heard that he's getting kind of ornery, so I think he's getting back to normal. Somebody had said that, that he was, he was looking like he was back to normal, and I said, well, we need a second opinion, because Charles has never been normal. And so I wanted to make sure that we had the right guy. But all kidding aside, he has the best scenario going for him. And we're so happy and pleased about that, and we're just looking forward to getting Charles back to the show. No hurry, but we can't wait till we can do that for you. So that's a pretty amazing thing. We have a new format for the show. Why don't you go ahead and talk about that a little bit, Wayne?
Yeah. One of the things is we're actually taping the shows in advance.
Mm-hmm.
Not too much in advance at the moment, but we want to try and get a little bit ahead of the game, because we want to try and present a product that that looks good, that looks as good to the audience as it looks in our head.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. Yeah,
we really enjoy doing this, and we have a lot of fun doing this, and we don't have to record this, and if we do record it, we don't have to edit it. We can just record it. We throw it up on YouTube. We have a great time, but we also recognize that we want to put some effort into making it a quality product for the viewer, because that is a demonstration of our commitment to the cause, to the issues. Yep. That it's not just us sitting around, chit-chatting. On some level, that's what we're doing. But this is serious stuff for us. This is we spent a year talking before we started doing this. Yeah. Just having these conversations. We were both going through our what it is that we go through, just like everybody out there goes through things. We're going through things, and it was very therapeutic, and it actually became, for me, much more therapeutic than the therapy that I was doing. So it seemed. That was, I was. We
are not doctors. We are not therapists.
And I think that what actually happened is I was able to get a lot more out of my therapy because of the work we were doing here.
We were applying it.
Yeah, we were taking and applying it. Communication skills, the reflection skills, just the DBT skills. Just turning the thought. All those things. The things that we talk about on here. We started applying those just in our conversations, and it was amazing to just how much fun and interesting it was. It was Dinner became now like a something to look forward to, not for the dinner itself, but for the after dinner conversation.
Right.
And so we thought, well, let's and we've been upping the game a little bit each time as we've been doing this. We've now we've got a split camera going on. That's something that we didn't have at the very beginning. We were using the Google Hangouts, and we tried to experiment with how to get split camera up there in a way that made sense for us that we could do, and well, we're a little bit of a shoestring budget here, so we're not out buying thousands and thousands of dollars worth of equipment.
No, it's Shane's budget,
and it's minimal. But we have web cameras that we bought. We have the microphone. You see, so. But we can buy software to do this stuff. I don't know. So we're using off the shelf free software. The shareware, and that's helping us. And we may eventually run out of the technical capability of those programs. May not quite meet our needs. We may have to step it up. But that's all part of learn, improve, share. We're getting a little better. So I think we got this record advance. This show's broadcast Thursday, 8 p.m. It's Wednesday, 8 p.m. So it's 24 hours in advance. We actually are doing this several days after we do the original show. It's not like we do a show and then
do the next.
Get the recap in the can in the same sitting. We actually do take the few days to get the feedback after the broadcast before we do the the original show may start getting done several days to a week in advance. The recap show is, at best is going to be a day in advance. I think Wednesdays is probably the earliest we could do this. So that Thursdays I'll spend some time doing some quick editing, slapping it together. I say slapping it together. We've done a lot of work behind the scenes in advance so that we could do things like edit. I can do things like edit more quickly. Maybe I'm learning something. We'll see.
Well, that's it. When I first had envisioned this show, I had thought that it was going to be a live show. I had thought that we were going to have a lot of interaction with people calling in, people being in the chat, and so forth. But, technical difficulties that we've been having has been limiting that. And it was just to the point as to where I wasn't happy with just being okay as far as the quality of the show was concerned, when I knew that we could do better. And so when it came to the audio, we went out and got a mic. We didn't get the very cheapest one out there. We went out and got the best one that we could get. Then at the same time, when it came to, Google Hangout, hey, Google Hangout was really helping us when we first started. I don't have a problem with that. But then I realized that it was also kind of hurting us as far as the resources that it was using, to where it was making us lose our audio, was making us having the picture go away, the camera would just go away for no particular reason, sometimes Google would crash, whatever. Bottom line is that we were just looking to make it better, and I think that we have. And then it allowed Wayne, it basically empowered Wayne to be able to do the things that he can do, that I knew that he could do, when it comes to the production of the show. So and that's just been amazing. It's been an amazing transfer, over the past 3-4 weeks, to where we're getting a better quality show, and we're getting, it's entertaining. I think it's entertaining, especially with the different captions that come out of nowhere, and the the credits and so forth. I think it's getting better. So we're very happy with that. Another reason why we did this was so that we could interact with our audience. Yeah. And that's and it's not just another reason, it's a big reason. When it came to the chat room and everything, people were asking questions and everything. I didn't even know about it because I wasn't even in the chat room because I was worrying about doing the production of the show. This way we can go ahead and do the show as best as what we can. And then we can go ahead and we can enjoy the show in the Chatsy room, the Arisen Strength Chatsy room. Enjoy the show with everybody else and be able to answer any questions that anybody might have, or a joke or two, or whatever the case. To be able to have a good time on Sunday along with everyone else. So
yeah, so Sunday and Thursdays in the Chatsy chat room, we'll be there. We'll be there before 8, and we'll stay after 9. And we have, what do we call that? 7:45 to 9:15, 7:30 to 9:30.
Hey, it's like a party. Whenever everybody starts leaving, I'll leave then.
But right at 8 o'clock, we'll start broadcasting the show. What we'll do is we'll make the link available.
Yeah.
So that you can watch it. So come in. We'll sit there and chat, whatever. Right around 8 o'clock there, we'll make the link available. Go ahead and we'll watch the show together as a group, and then we can discuss this. Talk about the show. We can talk about what's going on in your life, talk about what's going on in our life, ask questions about what's happening in the show, or just kind of make it that a little bit of a party atmosphere.
Sure.
A family atmosphere. Really, it's kind of what it is.
Yeah, I mean, you know me. I'm a family type guy. I'm the one that, if you meet me once, you're gonna think that I'm part of your family because you're either gonna love me or hate me, one or the other, and I'm okay with either one. And doesn't mean that I won't try to make things better, but the bottom line is that I'm looking to have a family atmosphere inside the chat room where we can just. I think it's kind of cool to have an interactive studio, to be able to see the show at the same time, to be able to talk about the show at the same time, and we can joke around a few times too. So that's all part of the fun. So I'm looking forward to doing that from now on into the near future, and we'll go from there.
So that's Chatsy Sundays and Thursdays, 8 p.m. One thing that's interesting is that we threw out a couple of these three prong phrases already: performance, feedback, revision, and learn, improve, share. And of course, for our show, our big three, we come up in the credits, we talk about it all the time: support, empower, celebrate. And I love these, the threes. To me, 3 is this magical number for building cycles. I mean, because all of these things are cyclical, right? It doesn't just go support, empower, celebrate, and stop.
No.
It's support, empower, celebrate, and then that pushes you on to the next one.
Exactly.
The learn, improve, share, that pushes you on to the next one.
Yep.
The performance, feedback, revision pushes you on to the next one. So I love these little things that happen sort of in threes.
Yep.
We have another big three, the 3 pillars of the 3 foundations of that we've been really pushing. We have episodes for all these. Shane, I wonder if you can go ahead and take a few minutes here to talk about those.
Well, yeah, a lot of people, don't realize, but we've had a long list of shows that we had planned over time, and I had scheduled a block of time for a purpose, which was to go over the 3 foundations of Arisen strength. Now, the 3 foundations of Arisen strength is self-esteem, turn the thought, and the freedom of acceptance. Now, the reason why we did that is because all 3 of those are very, very intricate in regards to dealing with the types of illnesses, injuries, and life experiences that we aim to help people through. So it's a way of being able to prepare the audience for what it is that we have planned in the near future. Prepare the audience for their own situations, whatever that might be. And even if you don't have an illness, even if you don't have an injury, most people have life experiences, whether they want to admit it or not. But even if you don't, you can still utilize the 3 foundations, being self-esteem, turn the thought, and the freedom of acceptance, just to go up another level to be able to be a little bit better than what it is that you might have been the day before that. So the reason why we brought that out is to prepare people for what it is that we have planned, and it was to prepare them. Number one, we did the domestic abuse show, which I really wanted people who unfortunately go through that situation. I wanted them to have something to work with, or to be able to help their situation, not just talk about their situation. I wanted to be able to empower them to be able to, if not get fully out of danger or out of that domestic issue, at the very least they can be empowered to managing themselves through it.
Yeah, I think that's a real great point that you made there, because we talk about our 3 pillars: the support, empower, celebrate. Mm-hmm. That empower piece, that's really this where we talk about these issues of self-esteem, of turning the thought, and freedom of acceptance. Yeah. Because those are the tools that we use ourselves to improve ourselves. Those are the sort of the fuel on our own journey that we're responsible for. People can support us all they want, but at some point in time, we got to drive our own bus. Yeah. We can have our support team that's there that they take us on some road trips early. Maybe they provide us with some vehicle, some maintenance. But at some point in time, we got to start doing it ourselves, all of us. Yeah. We don't have to do everything ourselves, but we have to start doing some things for ourselves, and that's what the empower part is we kind of turn it over back to you. We want to turn it over to you. I want to turn things over to me. I want the things in my life, I want to be directing those, right? So I want to feel empowered. Well, tools for empowerment are the self-esteem, it's turning the thought, and then it's acceptance.
Yeah, and what I tried to do is I tried to utilize those 3 points to be able to tackle some very tough subjects that we have coming up. And one of them, we decided to do the show on for last Sunday, which was, when life gets hard. Life gets hard for everybody. There's not one person that's out there that can sit there and say that life wasn't hard at one point in time or another. In fact, during one of our promotions, a gentleman left a message, and he said, well, no one said that life wasn't going to be hard. You just have to deal with it. And I said, you're exactly right. No one did say that life wasn't going to be hard. What we're trying to do is we're trying to help people to be able to manage their way through it, to be able to empower them to be able to manage their way through it so that they can get through those tough times that everybody has and some that don't have. And then they can move on, and they can and make a difference in their own lives from their own strength, which is why we call this show Arisen Strength. It's not Shane's strength. It's not Wayne's strength. It's not, the support network. It's not that. It's called Arisen Strength because it's within us all. We all have that capability. We all have that impassioned lives that we have. And the thing is that we're just trying to be able to show people how to get back to it so that they can flourish and they can make things a lot different than where they are right now, and they can live impassioned lives again.
Yeah, and I think another part of that is it helps us, me and Shane. When we do this, they say if you want to, the best way to learn is to teach, because when you teach, you learn twice. Yeah. So we're speaking to the audience, obviously, but we're reinforcing those ideas for ourselves. We're committed to these ideas, and we want to make these ideas part of our life. They are part of our lives, and in a large part. I mean, that's the reason why we do this. And it was what drove you to this. We talk about your spoken word piece, the Arisen Strength concept, great little 5-minute video. If you haven't seen the 5-minute video, the Arisen Strength concept video, please give it a listen, and you can really hear sort of a little bit of Shane's story. It's not really not the details of his story, but you can the emotion of his story, and that's and I think we can all see a little piece of ourselves in that, and that's what we do here. Is we're trying to reinforce these ideas back to us by doing this, as well as share them with you. So we're not giving you anything that we don't, any medicine that we don't take ourselves, right? No. This is this is the way we want to be living our lives, and of course it's not about perfection, it's about progress. We're not saying that we have this all figured out and fully embrace it, and it's no question in our lives and everything is perfect and hunky-dory. It's a day-to-day battle. Life gets hard.
There's no doubt.
It gets hard for us as much as it does for anyone else, and we have to remember that.
Oh, there's no doubt. This show is definitely therapeutic to me. And I know it's therapeutic to Wayne, and it's therapeutic to all the cast. But the whole purpose of the show, wasn't really is for me to say, oh, I came up with this and this is the way we went. No, the purpose of the show came from when I was struggling at a very low point in my life. And I finally said to myself, I don't know, maybe I'm supposed to use my experiences to help somebody else. And then all of a sudden I got from what I call my higher power, which I believe is God and his son, Jesus Christ, I got a message to say, you're on the right path now. Now, when I got that, well, then I did take it a little bit further. I was empowered, okay? I was empowered to be able to come up with some different ideas, come up with some different thoughts. Some of them were working, some of them weren't. I started writing a book and it wasn't going all together well. I wrote a whole lot of pages, but it wasn't really correlating the way that I wanted it to. It wasn't doing it at that time, right then and there. But at the same time, I realized that those writings that I had did amount to something, and it amounted to a career that I have in speaking as a patient on behalf of a patient's point of view to different clinics, hospitals, organizations that are out there. And then, people started saying, well, do you do anything other than speaking from a patient's point of view? Do you do motivational thoughts? And I said, well, yeah, I can do motivation. I'm a motivating kind of guy. I've been in process management. I've been in training. I've been a trainer for quite some time and a consultant for quite some time in regards to different management styles and so forth. So I've had that experience. And next thing you know, Arisen Strength then popped up, and we just put the two together, and we've got what we've got, which is pretty damn good. So, this show is definitely therapeutic to us as we learn not only from what it is that we learn from our research and from what we talk about in our different discussions. We start thinking differently. We start turning the thought a little bit. We start accepting a lot more than what it is that we did before. And that again empowers us to be able to have a better show. And then on top of it all, then we have the feedback from our audience, and the audience gives us more insight, and they give us different views, and then we can talk about those. If you not remember, we had Christina. Christina's a great friend of mine, and she called me up after what show were we doing? I forget. It was Was it? It was. We were talking about turning the thought. And Christina thought that I was kind of not taken seriously of what chronic pain really is to someone. And so my good friend called me and proceeded to tell me that I might not know what I'm talking about when it comes to chronic pain. But then I kind of like switched it on her. I says, okay, well, if that's the case, why don't you come on the show? And the gist of the story is that I actually did things on purpose the way that I did them, because I didn't want to single out anybody, and I wanted to empower those who do have chronic pain and chronic illness. You know, and then when Christina realized it, she kind of knew that, you know, I got her on the show for a reason, and it was something that it was one of our best shows, as to where we got tremendous amount of feedback from people, you know, about her story that she's gone through, the things that she's gone through. She's a great friend of mine, but she's an amazing person. And, you know, that's from feedback. We also got feedback from Charles when it came to autism. You know, Charles came fighting. I mean, he came and he told me, you know, maybe I should leave. I think he said I should leave it to the professionals or something like that. And I says, what in the world? So I called him. I don't fool around. If you're going to challenge me, you better be ready for the response that's going to come, because I'm going to call you. I might even call you on the phone or whatever the case, but I'm going to call you just so that we can get on the same page at least. And when I did that, Charles realized that, no, I wasn't too far off from what it is that he was thinking either. He had a different perception of what it is that was being said. And when he realized that we were on the same page, he wanted to be on the show as well. So, you know, it comes from hard times. I mean, that's not easy. It's not easy being criticized. It's not easy, you know, getting feedback as to where people think that you shouldn't even be doing what it is that you're doing, you know, at first. And let me tell you something. Beforehand, years before, I would have told Charles, it's like, look, you can listen to me or don't listen to me. I really don't care. But as I grew up and as I used the different foundations of Arisen Strength that are now the foundations of Arisen Strength, I realized that, hey, I might not have it all right, and let me find out what it is that I'm missing. And I called him, and then we got on the same page, and the next thing you know, I have a great friend, and I have a cast member on the show. So, you know, it was one of those ways as to where turning the thought and using acceptance, plus having my own self-esteem in order to be able to stand up for what it is that we were doing. But now we have a great relationship.
Yeah, one of the there's a little theme, one of the many themes, threads running through those stories, both with Charles and with Christina. Mm-hmm. There's this one, and it's really related to why turning the thought is so important, but also so difficult. If you keep doing the same things, if you keep thinking the same things, you keep getting the same results.
Sure.
And part of acceptance is recognizing that, saying, oh, if I keep doing the things that I'm doing, if I keep thinking the way I'm thinking, my situation's not going to change. And you might be in a situation where that's okay that things don't change.
Right.
Not all of us are that lucky. We get to a point where something in our lives has to change. And a lot of that change has to start with the way we think about things, the way we do things. We actually start doing different things. And whenever you start doing different things, they're not all going to work the first time.
No.
They're not all going to work ever, maybe. Some of them may never work, and that's okay.
Or you may have to go through a long list to get there.
And you may have to go through a long list to get there.
Right.
And you know, when you were talking about writing the book, that's what I was thinking. You know, without turning the thought, you never start writing the book.
Right.
But by turning the thought, you start writing the book. But you don't give up there. If that's not quite it doesn't mean that you go back to doing everything else that you did before and stop trying anything new. The lesson is, one, can I take anything from this experience to try and get a new experience? Is there a way I can adjust it, you know, before I just sort of cut and and drop it all together.
Sure.
What have I learned in this experience so far? And you talked about really sort of the springboard there to some great speaking things, talking on behalf of the patient. There's a lot to be learned, a lot gained in that. And if nothing else, the most important thing that you gained was that you were doing something different than you had been doing before.
Oh, yeah.
Right? When we get trapped in our little lives, we get stuck in our little boxes. Sometimes the best thing we can do for ourselves, almost regardless of what the outcome really is just to do something different. Because it's that gives you a little bit of freedom, a little bit of opportunity. You open your mind, open your heart. You can be open to opportunity if you just start doing something a little different than you've tried in the past. And I guess I should stop. I can talk for 2 hours on this topic, so I need to stop there.
And we'll have another show. But let me put it this way: if I did things the way that I used to do things, and I came to the realization, that I was frustrated with writing the book, and I realized, because I have this perfectionist attitude that I know that's not possible now, but at the time it was something that I strived for, and so if I did things the way that I used to, I would have gotten angry and I would have just stopped. I would have said, look, you can't do this, but you can do other things, so let's go do that. And I would have just dropped it. I would have never had the thought of, well, here's a speech. Well, here's a presentation. Here's this, here's that. And over the past 4 years, things have just been jumping off. And it's not to the point as to where I'm not rich by any means, but I'm rich in a lot of different ways. I'm just not rich monetarily. I'm rich in the fact that I have a career that's doing something that I love to do, and that's to help people. I'm rich in the fact that I can continuously improve. I can continuously have that capability of improving what it is that I do, which is something pretty amazing too. So, it was something as to where I had to accept the fact that no, everything wasn't perfect, everything wasn't going right, and that was okay for that particular time. We talked about that on Monday's show with Journey into the Light. What the subject was right now, and the fact is, and we probably should do a show about right now with Arisen Strength at some point. But right now, at the time, it was okay that was the way it was. It doesn't mean it's going to be that way forever, and I'm continuing to write the book. Don't get it wrong. It's just a matter I haven't put it together yet, but I'm still writing pages after pages. But for that particular time, it wasn't the time. It wasn't the time to do that. It was the time to learn that I could do something else. And as I learned to be able to do something else, that empowered me. And as soon as I was empowered, that was all I needed to move and to take it forward. And we've had some fantastic results. We've only been doing Arisen Strength, really since March. We started in January, but we really started doing it in March. And look at the improvements that we've done from the first show to now. And that again is utilizing those foundation points. It's utilizing the fact that, hey, I understand that, we did the best that we could. It wasn't really doing the best that we could, but at the same time, turning the thought, well, what can we do? Well, we can change the audio. We can change the cast. We can change the software, whatever. And then next thing you know, we came to accept what it is that we couldn't do, and we went a different direction, and we found something better, than what it is that we started out with. So, and why are we talking about this? We're kind of in a roundabout way. We're talking about what hard times really are, and we're not. There are a lot of people that are out there that are going through some terrible things. That are out there in this world. Life is hard. Society is hard. Let me tell you something. People say, well, why does it get harder when life is hard? Well, the reason why is because it's a domino effect, and there's a number of different reasons. We have a negative bias, okay? Whether it be our language, whether it be our thoughts, whether it be our core values, which we'll have a show about core values, believe me. Everybody from DBT will love that. These types of things, it makes it very difficult. It's a domino effect. It keeps on going on and on and on, and things just kind of like a magnet to negativity, a magnet to things going wrong. I used to say, what did I used to say? I used to say things were an avalanche. I literally told people that I have an avalanche going on. I mean, things that were going on. I mean, I lost my best friend. I lost my job, which was my career. I felt broken. I couldn't do this. I had my car repossessed while I was in the hospital. Anything that could go wrong. My insurance, my health insurance. Oh, Maron. The health insurance was crazy, going in and out. Have a toothache. I can't do. All number of things. I mean, it was an avalanche. It wasn't a domino effect. So this is what happens as to where, when you're in that negative mode, these things will happen to you. Same thing when you're in a positive mode. If you start looking at things differently, if you start using language differently, then all of a sudden you start recognizing what's positive in life, and then you start appreciating it, and next thing you know, it's magnetized to you just as much as what that avalanche would have been. And that's when I started realizing that, life was different for me then. And it allowed me to be able to be empowered. It wasn't the best thing in the world. Like I said, I'm not rich monetarily, but I'm rich in a lot of different ways. I have great friends who I consider friends. I don't have a lot of friends, but who it is that I have, I'm very proud of having. And then I have a career that I can enjoy. I have a purpose in life that I can enjoy while helping others. And it's like you, I could talk about this forever. But when you talk about what makes life hard, there's any number of things that do that. Society in itself, hey, look, most people do not want to be told that somebody's better than them. That's just our average day primal way, okay? We just don't want somebody to be better than us. But if they are, we're going to begrudgingly say, okay, yeah, you're better than me. But when it comes to somebody, it's like that old saying, we attract who we are. Well, if you're attracting who you are and you're having troubles and you're having hard times, and then all of a sudden you kind of start turning the thought, hey, guess what? You're no longer the misery company that everybody wants to be around. You're the actual person that's actually breaking away from that. And so it's going to seem like it's hard. It's going to feel like it's hard. It's going to make you seem as if like you're different because you are. Because you are searching for a better life. You are searching for a better result, a better time period in small blocks, that are attainable out there. So I mean, that's why it's hard. That's why it keeps on happening. I've been talking to a number of people lately who are going through some hard times, but they're starting to get it. They're starting to understand the concept of arisen strength. They're starting to understand the words that I'm using. I don't allow them to sit there and use negative words. In fact, when they have negative words, I kind of cut them off. I kind of say, hey, look, you're in a negative frame of mind. I can't help you while you're doing that. I can support you, but I can't help you. So then I start utilizing different language, and now they're starting to feel it. But they also feel the pains because they're coming out of that familiarity, and they realize just how familiar they were with things.
Yeah, I had an experience today on the bus. This woman got on the bus, and I don't know if the bus driver knew her from somewhere else, or if she said something really quick that I didn't pick up on, but within a couple of seconds after she was on the bus, he was very uncomfortable with her, and he kind of snapped at her and said, "Don't give me a hard time," or "Stop giving me a hard time," along those lines. And she was a very calm, very centered person. She had one of those real long flower dresses on and sandals, and I think she had like a headband on of some kind. Just it was just enough that here's a person who's a little bit really calm. They really, but she mentioned she goes, "I'm not giving you a hard time. you're giving yourself a hard time.
Absolutely.
That's your choice.
Yep.
And it's a great thing, because I think we've all said that about other people. That person's really giving me a hard time.
Right.
Now, that person's not giving you anything. You're giving yourself a hard time. I'm giving myself the hard time. I'm letting that person bother me. I'm choosing to be emotionally invested in this situation in such a way that I have these negative feelings. It's,
Right.
I have to take ownership for the way I feel. Because a lot of times the way I feel is based on my perception. So I may have perceived that person did something. They may have actually done it, but I have to at least recognize that, well, I perceive that they did this. So I don't know what kind of day they're having. I don't know what they were doing 5 minutes before now. They could have had the worst day of their life, and so maybe that's part of it. So I have to try and look at it in a way. I don't have to do anything, actually, but I can try and I can choose to look at situations in a way that sort of insulate me from other people's negativity, so they can't give me a hard time. Right. Just like this woman on the bus driver wasn't giving her a hard time. He was snappy at her. He had some attitude. She was happy as a clam, drinking her coffee. She got off the bus. She was smiling. She was in a good mood because she wasn't taking what he was selling, but he was buying, whatever up he could forget. Right. He was giving himself a hard time. But when she pointed that out to him, I really liked that, because comes up exactly with the topic there. I think a lot of things in our lives kind of fit in. It's like, oh wow, I should pay more attention. It reminds me to pay more attention to things that happen in the world, because there's lessons out there to be learned. I don't always say this, but I like to say the universe is always speaking to me, and the universe is never lying to me. Sometimes I fail to hear, and sometimes I fail to believe. Well, this was a moment in time where I was paying attention to what the universe was telling me, and her lesson to him was a lesson I could learn for myself.
Well, it's funny. Like, one of the people that I'm talking with, and as a life coach, they came to me and they said that they were talking to a doctor, and the doctor was actually saying the exact same things that I was saying, but at the same time it was like, oh God, you sound like Shane. It's like, and it was one of those things as to where, but they realized what the doctor had kind of said something differently so that they could understand it. Like we talked about, there's different points of view that are helpful for people to learn and understand. The doctor was able to do that, and so she looked at it from a different point of view, and then next thing you know, she realized that, oh God, Shane's been saying that for a while now. But anyways, so, and this is for those who have gone through some very difficult times that most people don't go through. This is for those who go through those conditions that are not anywhere near what it is anybody would expect to have to go through. This is for those who have been abused. This is for those who have 8, 9, 10 pain, in the majority of their day. Here's the thing. What it is that you're invested in, it's not invested in you. You see, when it comes to our pain, when it comes to our turmoil, our tortures, it's within us. The ones that actually gave us those tortures, actually gave us those memories, actually gave us those experiences, those people aren't thinking about us. Those people aren't thinking about, oh, I got this person or anything like that. They're just living their life because they're looking for somebody else to do the same thing that they did with us. And so when a person is sitting there and they've been in an abusive relationship, I've been in an abusive relationship. When a person's been sitting there and they've been taken advantage of, I've been taken advantage of. And if I sit there and if I dictate my life based off of those experiences, that person's only hurting me more and more and more and more again. But the reality of the situation is that person's not hurting me anymore. It's now me and my thoughts, my perception, my feelings that are doing it for that person. So what I'm saying is turn the thought, utilize what the acceptance, the acceptance of which is very hard sometimes. Accept the fact of what it is that happened, and then make that a cutoff point, and then here it is. We talked about it on Sunday, as far as like the same book. You get familiar with the story, and you start reading page after page after page, and it's the same story. It's still going on and on and on and on and on. Well, what I'm telling you is, don't just not turn the page. Don't just go to the next chapter. No, go to a new book. Go to the new book, and if that book has nothing written in it, that's for you. That's for you to write that new book. That's for you to write your new experiences. That's for you to write your new challenges, your new victories, your new struggles, whatever the case. That's for you. I'm not saying to just forget. I would never say that. What I am saying is, believe in yourself. Have the strength within yourself to make a difference for you. No one else but you. That's what Hard Times is about. And that's where that's why we try to help people in order to be able to get out of that cycle, out of that book, so that they can do that for themselves. So, that was Sunday's show about Hard Times. Like Wayne and I said, we could talk about this for quite a while. There's a whole lot of people out there who have had a whole lot of different experiences. I've gotten quite a few different reactions from people and so forth, and I plan on, I want more. Keep coming to me so that, we can see where we go from here. Another thing that I talked about was, just one last thing, is we talked about my story of Laurence. And to make a long story short, Laurence was a man, an older man, who I met at a homeless shelter. As a matter of fact, the first time that I was in a homeless shelter. And he lived quite a few different places. He lived in England, he lived in Germany and France. He lost his eye in a fight in France. He has a noticeable limp, a permanent limp, from being in the war. To say the least, he's had a number of different challenges. He's had a number of different hard times that are out there. And what brought him to America or the United States was his dream. He was pursuing his dream no matter what the problem was, no matter what the hard time was that he went through. He was still pursuing his dream. And he didn't even know how he was going to live from day to day. I mean, he didn't come over here with hardly anything. But he was willing to work. He still did work, even with his limitations. And when every time that we would talk and walk around, he would talk about his dream. And that was just something that I would never forget. As he was pursuing his dream, he was there for me at a time where I needed somebody, because I was being taken advantage of by two other men at the time while I was sleeping. And Laurence happened to be there with a cane, and he slammed that cane as hard as he could onto the foot of the bed, and it scared the two men, and they went away. And I ended up, not unaffected, but I ended up being okay compared to what could have been even worse. Because Laurence didn't just let hard times take him, he still pursued his dream. He still pursued positivity. He still pursued what it is, his passions within him. And because of that, he was there. Sometimes our passions are not just for us. Sometimes our passions are to put us in the position to be able to help another. And so, that's just one of those things as to where you don't realize it until it happens to you. And it happened to me that one given night. So, in closing here, Sunday night, this Sunday night, we're going to be talking about a different kind of subject.
Yeah, this Sunday is mold awareness.
Yep.
I don't know how much our people in our audience know about mold, but you're going to know a lot more probably than you do now.
Yeah, I mean, people were looking at me and say, oh, we're doing what now? And I says, well, number one, it's a favor for a friend of mine who's in the Arisen Strength family. And then more importantly than that, as I've done the research and I realized, just how mold affects people and how it creates an illness, and it really does consume a life. I've had stories from people who literally have given away every piece of their furniture and clothing due to mold, because of the results that came about. I've been in a number of different restoration situations after hurricanes. I've volunteered in New Orleans. My aunt went to New Orleans in order to be able to help out. She told about the situation in regards to mold. We had the situation in Staten Island. We've had the situation very locally here in Schoharie County, where I volunteered to be able to do it. So it's one of those things as to where this is it's a subject that's not altogether pretty. It's not altogether captivating, but it's something that needs to be brought awareness to, and so that's what we're going to do. I am going to be on my good friend Maria's show, Let Your Voices Be Heard. That's going to be this Sunday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I was asked to join the show in order to speak on behalf of myself regards to my depression and my PTSD. She has a wonderful group that she has every Sunday night. It's generally at 7:30. She actually changed the time so that I can participate with that show, as well as be able to be there for the Arisen Strength show, which I'm very happy and to do, and I'm fortunate to do. So for those of you who are watching this show, look out for the different links. I think we got it up in Arisen Strength right now, to where it's the event, which is, again, it's Let Your Voices Be Heard. And it should be I wouldn't say a good time, but it's going to be a time to be able to tell my story and see if that helps somebody else out there that has gone through something similar or is going through something similar now. Journey into the Light Network, we're having a good old time there. We talked about how we this past Monday show was about the words right now and what they meant to me in my recovery, both physically and mentally. And I think that we had a pretty good time there in the chat and so forth.
Yeah, that's on Blog Talk Radio. That's the Journey into the Light Network. Links, of course, available on Facebook. We put them in Chatsy. We contact us when we can get the links to you.
Yep.
Go to Blog Talk Radio. Just type in Journey into the Night, or Journey into the Light. Look for on the archives there. You can find the links. You can find the shows. The chat room, though, not in the archives. They don't archive the chat. I think we're all
might be a good thing.
Might be a little lucky for that. But we certainly have fun in the chat room. We try to keep it, definitely try to keep it a little light there. Try to keep it entertaining, but also supporting the show, of course, supporting the discussion of the show, and not distract from the show.
Yeah, I mean, and it's fun. And for those who do come into the show, you have the option to register with Blog Talk or not. Registering is not anything more intrusive than just hit your Facebook link and it automatically does it for you. I haven't heard of any further contact from Blog Talk to anybody afterwards. Or if you don't want to register, that's fine too. If you do register with Blog Talk, then you have the capability of interacting in the chat room. If you're just simply a guest, then you can certainly hear the show, but you just can't interact with the chat room. But either way, it's a good time. I'm having fun with it. It allows me to be able to kind of talk about other things other than what it is that we do on Arisen Strength, and it also we talk a lot about Arisen Strength on the show as well. So so it's a good time to be empowered in a spirited way, and I'm really looking forward to doing that for quite some time. Coming soon, we like we did with the foundation points of Arisen Strength, we took a block of time. Well, we're going to take a block of time now, and we're going to be talking about chronic illness and chronic conditions and pain and so forth. We are going to be going over different conditions and illnesses that are out there, whether it be Lyme disease or Crohn's disease or chronic pain, lupus. A number of different subjects that we're going to be talking about that's going to be specific for that particular block of time. Because again, we utilize the foundation points in order to be able to jump into that realm of things or that ring of things to be able to talk about in a realistic way.
Yeah, I think we want to. Certainly, we're not going to cover every chronic condition that's out there.
No.
It was similar to our experience with Christina. No matter what we talk about, if we get specific, we're going to leave people out. But we try to be specific where we're just as an example of a wider thing. We want to definitely hit several of these chronic conditions because there are so many of them. There are people out there dealing with chronic conditions in silence. And I think, that we've talked about this, how silence is the real enemy of a lot of, is the enemy of Arisen strength.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have to shine the light on things. We have to expose these things. We have to be willing to face them, to accept them, and then we can challenge them. And once we can, when we can challenge them, then we can start making all that progress, and we can find that Arisen strength. But you have to break through the silence, and part of breaking through the silence is bringing awareness. And so we're bringing awareness to many of these chronic conditions.
Yeah, and we also have future plans down the road, so we're also going to be talking about fibromyalgia. I didn't want to leave that one out either. So I mean, there's a lot of things that we have planned. We're looking forward to it. We are going to take the remainder of this year in order to get this show as best as possible when it comes to being technology and the show itself. And then we're going to hit the ground running in 2016 and hopefully for a long time to come. So that's tonight's show, the Arisen Strength Recap. I want to say thank you for coming. And for those who are looking at the archive, thank you for taking your time to take the time to look at the show. And hopefully you'll join us on Sunday night, when we're in the Chatsy room at the Arisen Strength Chatsy room. Or if you want to also, come and listen to Let Your Voices Be Heard on Sunday night at 7 p.m.
All right, and good night, everybody. Stay through the credits. There's lots of fun at the end of the credits.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe not. but the credits are informative, and the song is great, so.
Yeah, he's playing games. He's got a blooper reel going, folks, so it is entertaining, but it's at my expense, which I'm going to use acceptance along with that. But okay. All right, so folks, thanks for coming, and we'll see you on Sunday.
In my defense, though, you were spot on today. I don't think there was one blooper. we did one solid take here. I don't think we had a blooper moment.
Was when I opened my eyes and saw that you were my truth. Said, how did you know?
Have a great night.
You'd be my angel when your wings were trapped into my heart. Where did you see? And where did you see that we would be wonderful? And our dreams would live where we are. How did you know that you'd be my angel when your wings were trapped into my heart? And where did you see that we would be wonderful and our dreams would live where we are? How did you know that you'd be my angel when your wings were trapped into my heart? Where did you see that we would be wonderful and our dreams would live where we are? How did you know that you'd be my angel when your wings were trapped in my heart? And where did you see that we would be wonderful?